There's a big difference between just taking a photo and really building a world. And Petra Collins doesn't just make images, she creates a visual world so specific and so deliberate. It's kind of dreamlike, looks like a memory that you can't quite place. And there's 5 key elements that I'm going to look at today that I think are really important to understand her visual language and her visual world. I think it's a really important skill to have, is to recognize the elements that work for you within your pictures and how you can build this visual library that you know you can launch into at any time. It will also really help you identify why clients come to you or what they like about your work. It's great to look at how aware she is of the world she builds, how deliberate it is, and how that language spreads throughout her pictures so they feel connected. Not just within the editorial, but connected within the body of work that she continually makes. I love her work, so it's always really fun to talk about it. I'm going to focus on some of the motifs or angles that she uses the most. There's a lot of crossover between all of these things, but I've broken them down in really easy to follow sections. And the first one is windows. And then predominantly bedroom windows or living room windows, but they also have a lot of light come through them. Even when she's built a set within a studio, that light really helps her sell a feeling within the picture, whether it's about time of day or atmosphere, but it also allows her to build some of the symbolism and some of the techniques that she uses that we'll see later in the video. That window also allows a great use of cool light versus warm light. It could be the warm light coming through the window and the cool light on the subject, or flip that around the other way. The other brilliant thing about using the window is it suggests an exterior world, which shows that her picture is creating the interior world. And that might seem sort of obvious, but if you take away the window, that visual element of the narrative is missing. This shoot here is a great example of warm light versus cool light and flooding the frame with warm light. Feelings of time of day. Here, the window is a great focal point. It's perfect for framing, but again, it helps build that real sense of interior world. And occasionally she breaks out like the exterior world. She started shooting her friends and herself in bedrooms, so it makes sense. But I think it's beautiful the way she's continued to use it. Even in her commercial work, it still comes through really strong. Gives a sense of time passing, isolated people, allows her depth of framing, and she can also throw light through the window onto her subject and even herself. The next really big feature, and a thing that she does beautifully, is a face light. And of course you could say, well, everyone needs a light on their face in photography. But her face light is quite distinctive. It's often quite separate from everything else that's happening in the picture. It can be a small light. It could be a torch light. She started with very DIY techniques. She still continues to use that, but also it could be a powerful studio light with a Fresnel. That face light can be simple and clear, or it can be colored, and often the color works against everything else in the picture. Here she's using the color of the light to suggest a time of day, even in a studio, and it really builds on that celebrity feel, no matter who she's shooting. They're in the spotlight. I think the beautiful thing about her face light, it doesn't have to be super flattering in its angle, and you can copy this and achieve this really easily with DIY or LED lights. It's not expensive. It's great for pulling out emotion, really pulls the character forward. This image on the left, the color and quality of that light that's hitting the side of the face, it sort of shouldn't work, but it works so perfectly. Such a strong focal point. A lot of soft lighting, even though it's small. And sometimes for flash lighting, it creates a real great connection with the eyes. It builds on that idea of an interior world for the subject, that sense that they're thinking, and soft and subtle gel light. And these may be individual lights, or 1 or 2 centered lights, but she tends to use 1 light per person. And the next element, and this kind of ties into that face light a lot, but a sense of a color wash. So she's shooting a lot on film, those colors are going to render really beautifully well, but there's also a lot of color bleed. Gelled lights will wash over each other, creating a color mix on the face. And sometimes she'll just flood the image with color, suggesting emotion, but allowing the audience to put that emotion on the person, depending on how they feel about color. And of course, if you're familiar with Euphoria, you would recognize that the style has been duplicated, stolen even by other people. Obviously, she didn't originate this idea, but she really made it a trademark of her photography. Ryan McGinley, who was influential on her work, also went through a big stage of using a color wash. And when I say color wash, I mean flooding the frame with color, using color gels, not some post-production technique. When the colors play off against each other, or when they're soft, it can also hide a lot of what might be unflattering light, or light that wouldn't work if it was so hard. So again, that face light is a colored light, which plays against everything else in the image, which is being washed with that blue. Really simple, blue, green, red, makes for a dynamic picture. There's often a sense of strong primaries. And the thing is that's fun about this, you can do this with a lot of DIY lighting. With a slightly slower shutter, you can use practical lighting in a room, but also small LEDs, pocket lights, torches, any light that you can wrap a gel around. Beautifully done in these portraits. And again, this is that euphoria style that was Petra Collins' style. So then the other aspect is blinds. There's a long history of using blinds, pushing light through window blinds in the movies and also in photography. And it can become really cliche, but in Petra's world, it's convincing because she's already established the other elements of the room, the home bedroom, the teenage bedroom, the living room. And you can imagine these blinds as just like freestanding elements, gobos that she's pushing light through, or actual blinds that she's put onto a set, often pushing a hard light through them and just framing the subject. So here you have the face light and the blind light are combined together. And it can be really subtle, just in the corner. But again, it gives that sense of time passing, interior world, exterior world, with that color wash as well. And again, playing those warm and cool colors against each other. On the right, just framing the subject in the warmth and allowing the cool all around her. Obviously, there's those kind of pastel elements, just that real particular color palette that she already has, but everyone's aware that's like a trademark of her work. Again, the image on the right, if you took the light of the blinds off the legs, it's not like the picture would fall apart. It's just got that additional layer that makes it more convincing and more Petra Collins. So another big part is backlight. And you'll see backlight in numerous ways. It could be a light that's coming through a window. It could be a really strong studio light, or it could just be the backlight is framing the subject completely like here, and that can be an opportunity to create another color wash. Or here it gives a sense of that window light coming through. There's two more elements that will show that build on that sense of backlight, shooting a lot into the sun, and lighting that could be quite difficult to work with, and she's not worried about that light kind of obscuring the subject's face, because the connection is there. And it could just be a backlight is framing the subject. It adds drama, feels kind of Hollywood, beautiful softness, that real feeling, a sense of place, or flooding the frame with light. In the studio, beautiful colored backlight, or outside, beautiful sunlight. And even on this commercial set. And then again, similar to the backlight, I'm going to call this the star effect. And there's different ways of doing this. Obviously, you can use like a star filter on the lens, but also just shooting with a small aperture, shooting directly into the light, you'll get some of those effects. And she really plays with this. Sometimes those star effects are like really, really pronounced, and sometimes they're just subtle, sitting in the corner of the frame. It can be natural lens flare. It could be a light pointed directly at the camera, deliberately to create this effect. And you can play around with these things by putting a filter over the lens, or just getting like a UV filter and scratching it. Old lenses that aren't coated or the coating is aged will have a different impact to new lenses and digital lenses. And it works so well with that strong backlight. So 5 really simple things, but they're really well planned and considered in her world building. You'll often see 2, 3, or 4 of those things all combined at once. One of the benefits of working like this also is that once she's constructed her world, she still knows the images that she wants to create, specifically within that set. Sometimes like photographers can build a massive set and then sort of get lost in like, what am I going to photograph within it? She's so sure and so confident and so clearly established her world over a long period of time that it works so effortlessly. So the question is for you, like, what are you going to build into your world? And how are you going to make it immediately understandable to an audience and to a client? I hope that was useful. Thanks for watching as always.